be here tonight. So, and if you would like, you know, a link to the presentation, just let me know. Zoom etiquette, of course, please mute yourself during the presentation. And then at the end, if you want to ask some questions verbally, unmute yourself. And I've also learned, for some reason, on my computer, when I host Zooms, I have some trouble with Zoom and the connection. So when I turn off my camera, it's a much better experience for you. So I'm going to do that here in a second, but I will be back online in a little bit. So, all right. So as I said, thank you and welcome. I am Megan Curtis. Is everything going okay?
Yeah. Going good.
Because for some reason, of course, my slides, there we go, are not advancing. We had this trouble last time. I am Megan Curtis, and I'm the Executive Director for Project AnimalAid. I'm joined today by Marcy Thrash. She is our Program Director, and she'll talk more with you later. Maya Key is also here. Maya is our Development Manager and our Program Lead. And both Marcy and Maya are amazing and an incredible gift to Project AnimalAid. And our guest of honor, Ann Goody from Three Ring Ranch Exotic Animal Sanctuary is here as well. Three Ring Ranch became a partner in our program earlier this year, and we're really excited to have her here tonight, but to also have Three Ring Ranch as part of our program. If you have questions, if you could put them in the chat, that would be great. I do not know what is happening with my advancing, so I apologize for that. But if you could put any questions in the chat for throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to them at the end. So as I said, the purpose of tonight is to say thank you and to share some of the ways that your generosity is making a difference. This is our 4th year hosting this event online, and it's exciting in that we can have people from all over the country and all over the world. So no matter where you live, please know we're so grateful for you and thank you. So with that, sit back, relax, and know that your generosity is making everything we're going to talk about tonight possible. And I'm sure you've all noticed one really big change this year. After many years and much debate, the board, staff, and the Project Vet's founder, Dr. Candy Brad, thought it was time to adopt a name that better described our work with animals. So we are no longer Project Vets, but rebranded to Project AnimalAid. Our goals and work are exactly the same, just with a new name and logo. So as mentioned on this slide, Project AnimalAid currently supports about 115 animal welfare partners in 41 countries all over the world. You may have heard this and know this, but our partners provide veterinary care for companion animals, working animals, and wildlife. And that wildlife is free roaming for those living in sanctuary. A new partner that this picture here represents is Animal Welfare Karpathos from Greece. They focus their efforts on stray animals on the island of Karpathos. It looks like it's an amazingly beautiful island, but a lot of work to assist the strays there on the island. Here, oops, sorry. This slide shows you what 2022 looked like for Project AnimalAid. Each year, we continue to add more partners in different countries. We continue to accept more and more in-kind donations. And last year, we placed approximately 8 tons of usable product, equipment, supplies, really anything that you can think of that would be used in the care of an animal. We kept it from heading to the landfill or gathering dust and not being utilized. And that number is 2 tons greater than in 2021. So we're really excited and proud of that growth. We sent about 920 parcels last year. But even though this was a huge increase from 2021, so far this year, with 1 month still to go, we have been able to place, when I say we, I mean all of us on this call, over 1,000 parcels to our partners. Just super, super exciting and a big milestone. Our product donations have continued to increase this year, from the always needed bandaging, surgical instruments and gloves, to leashes, and collars, and grooming supplies, equipment. We've had incredible donations come in. All of it is usable, operational, and desperately needed. And one of the really key moments of this year was when we launched our partnership with Blue Pearl. This relationship was created by Amanda Audio, one of Blue Pearl's really amazing team members. I believe she's here tonight. She has a profound care for the suffering of animals and a love for all creatures. And so Amanda came up with the idea to partner with Project AnimalAid for all of the Blue Pearl hospitals in the country, which is over 100, to have Project AnimalAid be the sole beneficiary of product, either equipment, supplies, whatever it may be, that those hospitals are no longer using. So Marcy's going to talk through this slide. You'll see this exact slide later in the program. But this program that Amanda created is really, really important and really exciting. So we are grateful to Amanda and Blue Pearl for choosing Project AnimalAid to implement this program. Oops. So no need to wait any longer to talk with our guest of honor. We are joined by Ann Goody, co-founder and executive director of Three Ring Ranch Exotic Animal Sanctuary. This picture shows Zoe. I'm sure that Ann could tell you more about Zoe, but Zoe is a very rare blonde zebra that Three Ring Ranch has cared for. And Ann, I will let you take it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me here this evening. I consider it an honor to be part of Project Vets, which is now AnimalAid. I can't tell you enough of what it has done for us, but let me first tell you a little bit about ourselves. Slide, please.
All right, I'll try.
See if they work. Okay, so most sanctuaries, when you think of an animal sanctuary, you want to think that the founders planned it out from the beginning, that they thought of where they needed the barn, the fence, the water. But that's not the truth. In truth, most sanctuaries are coincidental. They are an accident that happened, usually a good accident, where the founders have cared for animals over time and gradually become known for doing that or get requested to continue doing that by other entities. And they eventually become a sanctuary. They get their required paperwork, the required permits, and it becomes their way of life. Slide. Slide, please.
I'm sorry, there we go.
Go. So that's fine. This one's a little romantic picture there. That's Norm and I on the night of our wedding at the Kona Beach there. And we didn't plan any of this. I didn't even plan on Norm. He just kind of walked into my life and never would leave. Couldn't get him to leave so that I could go to sleep and get up at 4 a.m. in the morning to make my mainland phone calls for the business I was running. But he convinced me that he needed to be in my life and that this is how it was going to be. And he did not like my condominium at the beach. He just couldn't stand the sound of the surf. And he knew my history because we had talked about animals. And he lured me into moving away from the beach with a promise of horses, dogs, chickens, whatever. So off we went, deciding to buy this land
Yeah.
and that we should get married. Slide, please.
This
is the Project Vets thing.
what?
It's the Project Vets thing. What did she?
Please remember to mute yourselves.
So,
hey, Megan. Oh, sorry, Megan. Might be helpful as if you're the host, if you could mute others' lines if they are having trouble.
Yep, I will look at that now. Thanks.
So the day after our wedding reception, we were taking care of putting things away. And that was the point when everything changed for both of us. I walked out into the driveway to clear off things on the driveway that our little puppy had dropped. And I stood up and turned and was struck in the face by lightning. So this was not just a literal comment. I was figuratively struck in the face by lightning. As I went backwards through the air, thinking I had been dying, my husband heard the bolt, the sound, and thought that I had been shot, as he just turned and saw me airborne. From then on, I had to learn to walk and to talk again. Everything was starting over. Slide, please. I didn't feel like I belonged on this planet. I felt like I could see in the mirror who I had been, and I knew who I was now. And I didn't want to be here anymore. I knew that I was never coming back to the Anne that I had been. I was just finishing my PhD, getting ready to defend a dissertation, and now I couldn't form a sentence. I mean, it was enough. And Norm, in his desperation to try and help, he asked what he could do to help. And being expressively aphasic means you say words that you don't mean. It's whatever comes out of your mouth. Your brain is not, the connections are not working correctly. And I said zebra. And he looked at me and said, okay, that's fine, zebra. That's what you want. And he, being that kind of guy, started looking. Slide, please. Now, you can't just go find a zebra anywhere. I mean, that's just not where you can do, nor can you just have a zebra anywhere. But on Molokai, one of the other Hawaiian islands, there was a safari park that had closed down, and the land had been sold to a group from New Zealand who had no intent of keeping the animals that were there. So they closed the gates, shut everything down, hired only one caretaker, Palipo, and the animals began to have problems. There was starvation. There were hunters coming over the fence. They were advertising to the Japanese industry for sport hunting. The animals were dying. So Norm got me the name of the attorney there and, like a gauntlet, threw it down in front of me and said, here, you want a zebra? Go talk to this guy. And for me, that challenge was one part, but the idea of zebra sounded really cool, even though I had not remembered, and still to this day do not remember ever asking him for a zebra. I think I meant, let's go to Paris. But I went and spoke to that attorney, and his comment to me was, and I'll always remember this, if you get the permits to have animals, you can have any and all the animals you want. We can use the good publicity. So I went to the state, the Department of Ag, and they had no intention, because they had had other very disastrous outcomes with exotic animals in the state prior to my request. They had Tyke the elephant running amok in Oahu, killing people and having to be shot right down on Kalakaua. They had the Kauai Lagoons resort after Hurricane Iniki hit it, and wildlife escaped all over that had to be rounded up and cause damage. Hawaii went from one of the most least restrictive states in the country to own exotics to the most restrictive. So their board and subcommittee looked at me without saying anything, but full intent on not granting the request, until one of the subcommittee members asked me, when they looked at my background and history in California, would I do wildlife rehab? Because in California, I had done it for Fish and Game and Department of the Interior with the burros, the bears, the mountain lions, the hawks, the owls. And so I said, sure, I'd be willing to do that. And that's the reason we have permits and 3-ring ranches in existence today. Slide, please. The giraffe, by the way, did not come to us. We had been given the permits for the giraffe. And as we were forming and starting to build our fences, we were asked by a facility on Maui if they could take them. Being that they had experience, they had the fencing, they had the funds, we signed the giraffes over. They got in quite a hurry to move them, and they started the animals with sedation, and the younger animal reacted poorly and died. Because they already had the trucks and the barge there in place, they went ahead and drugged the older animal, dragged her into the crate rather than training her to go in and out. She panicked on the barge, swung her head around, got her head down by her knees, pulled her head up and broke her neck. So the giraffes never came to anybody. We never knew that at the time. It was pretty sad because other animals that we had been planning on taking, they turned their back on, and those animals ended up dying. Excuse me. But the animals that did come to us were pretty varied. Fraser crane, as you see in that image right there, that was taken while he was on Molokai. He was a little bit of a challenge to round up, and he was the only survivor of 4 crown cranes, and they were from Nigeria, where they are now extinct. So Fraser is a wild-caught crown crane, and he's been living with us for almost 26 years. In the middle image right there is Zorro playing with some of his enrichment devices. He's the son of the one-horned elderly unicorn oryx that we took, and he was about 6 months old when we moved him. Next to him are a couple of nene, which are the Hawaiian goose that just got off the endangered species list, so that was a great celebration. And we actually care for a lot of native species at 3-Ring Ranch who become non-releasable by age or injury and become educational animals. Slide, please. Slide.
Nope.
Perfect. Okay, so we partner with other facilities throughout the United States and worldwide, other sanctuaries, which allows us to spread knowledge, cover animals and protect animals that need to be placed in different areas that perhaps one area's temperature climate would be better suited for that animal. That means we can get animals from as far away right now as Puerto Rico. We can handle creatures, not just obviously in the state of Hawaii, but creatures that come to us in need, in great need. I was actually on the plane with a group of lemurs coming in on a private charter that had come all the way from Puerto Rico when I got the call about the Guam Zoo having been devastated by the storms. It wasn't something we could help with immediately, but I was able to get them a referral directly to a couple other sanctuaries in Texas who stepped in and did that. So collaboration is really key. Next slide. So when we get some of these specialized animals in, one of the interesting thing is that the animals come in a wide variety of conditions. Some of them psychologically damaged, physically damaged. Some are geriatric. Some no one knows because they haven't received any adequate care for a long time. Sometimes the owners, they're seized and there are no records. So you just don't know what you're going to get. So we've gotten animals through disasters, whether it be weather, whether it be a seizure or facility closure. So we're prepared to accept those animals, but we have to be ready to take care of them. Slide. some of these animals in these images, I'm just going to say briefly. The first top image on the left is a macaque, a Japanese macaque snow monkey, who is in a 4-foot by 4-foot welded wire enclosure. And his entire life, for 7 years, was on the 1-foot wide, 4-foot long shelf, because the lower part was all filled with piles of feces. And he was welded into this because his owner was terrified of him. He had gotten him as a baby, and as he grew, he resorted to physical abuse to control him, and then finally welded him in. I had to get him to reach out to attack me, grab his arm, sedate him, and then we had to pry the cage apart to get him out. And he lived happily with us at the ranch until he passed away from colon cancer. The spider monkey in the middle came to us from Oahu, and he was part of a ranch type resort where you could go visit that also is used for filming. This animal was cared for in pretty suboptimal conditions, and his diet for the last couple of years before he was ordered to be sent to us was pasta Alfredo. Not really what you'd expect a spider monkey to be dining on. The little Hawaiian hoary bat to the far right there, that's one of my absolute favorite creatures to take care of. They're quite rare. They're the Hawaiian native bat. Really a joy. The biggest they ever get's about 18 grams. And we have a few animals on the lower row, which are illegal aliens into Hawaii. And we do occasionally get those turned into us, and we work with the state to get them out. And those guys oftentimes need care while they're pending transfer out. And the last picture is a couple of spider monkeys from Honoka'a, top end of our own island, who are feeding on some fruits that were tossed in, and you can see a flow of rainwater flowing through the pen where they're sitting. Next slide. That's not meant to be scary and sad. It's just meant to give you an idea of some of the conditions that the animals come to us in. In caring for those creatures and working with the vet students and the interns who are residents, we have slowly started to gain knowledge that may not have already been learned by anyone else. And we do our best to share that. So we do have a very high demand program for pre-vet students, vet students who are in their second and third year, and externs to come and learn communication and behavior. And this is something, a source of great pride for us, because our pre-vets have a 100% success rate at getting into vet school. It's really a thrill to help have them get a step on their way. And much of the equipment that we get is things that they learn to use. There's a blow darting class going on right in that image in the center, and I'm actually darting a zebra in the hiney, giving her her annual booster. Slide. Okay, so we hold clinics at the ranch. We do spay and neuter clinics where our local vets come in and volunteer and lead surgical procedures. A lot of our vets get their first experience doing hands-on procedures at the ranch. And you can see we do use a wide variety of tools and equipment, some of which has come to us from you guys. And we are really grateful. We tell our vets to come to Hawaii. We give them a vacation, and they give us a day of time teaching. Thank you. Next. So this slide really showcases some of our community vets and partners working on some of the animals with some of the equipment that you have sent. So it's not just our horse at our ranch who is getting the scope, which did happen with one of our local vets. It's not just the little dog who was one of the fosters heading out who had surgery and got warmed, or our dentist right there setting up the dental unit, setting it up how we need to do it. But it's vets in the community who have access to those same tools. Dr. Pat, who is our equine vet who does much of our care, animal care and hands-on, is able to take that scope into the community when he's got cases. So that is a huge win for the animals in the community to upgrade the kind of care that they can get. Now, for us at the ranch, we're not allowed to take certain animals off site. Slide, please. So what that means for some of our animals at the ranch is we have to be able to care for them on site. So we're having to construct a small but elegantly outfitted operating room. And we've been gathering equipment to do that because we've had to do some procedures without everything we need. So you can see the column right there, and we're trying to make this a very multi-purpose room that will be used for advanced procedures, surgery, recovery, intensive care, and a holding area where we can quarantine an animal post-surgery for a few days into longer recovery. So we see we have some of this equipment that we needed, and we have a list, equipment we really need. And if you look down that list, one of them that I can speak to is non-human primate hospital caging. Now, NHP, non-human primate caging, is very specialized because I was just asked this question recently. How is it different from a typical shoreline kennel where you have a dog or cat, you can open the door and reach in and lift that animal out? You can't open the door and reach in and lift out a spider monkey or a capuchin. That's not going to go well for you. It certainly isn't going to go well for the primate. What you do with those type of specialty cages is there's some levers that you pull and you bring the back of the crate forward to you where the animal can be confined and then safely restrained and brought out. That's how you safely care for those animals. Those crating units are very expensive and hard to find. We've just now started to try and think of the best way to locate them, and it's usually from labs or research facilities that have stopped using primates. Thankfully, many facilities have stopped using primates, so that's something that we need to start searching and doing. Slide, please.
Okay.
Okay, so in summarizing that up, we know that we're a tiny facility. We're on 5 acres. We don't have multi-millions of dollars in budget. And we know that we're asking for a lot when we put in our requests. But it means so much to us what we've been able to do with some of your donations. You sent us a box of leashes and collars. And that box with leashes and collars was something we really needed because in addition to taking care of the animals on site at the ranch, we also work with shelter animals at the county animal shelter, which is kind of a nightmare of a facility. And we take dogs that other local rescues don't want, haven't selected. And we take those dogs, we work with them, and then we send them to mainland rescues who are better suited to place them. Who, let's say it's a greyhound type dog, and there's tons of those on the Big Island, but in the Bay Area, there are very few. And so that is an animal that is easily adopted by them. But to get them there, we have to hook up a water dish in the crate. We've got to have a leash on. We've got to have a collar on. We've got to have all the little things that they need to travel with. We need those pee pads in there. We need towels in there. And those are the kind of things that you have sent. And they may be not big deal to other big places, but to us, they're a huge help. I mean, you sent us some bottles of soap, skincare products, and shampoos. And you're thinking, well, what exotic animals do you have that you have to use the shampoo on? Well, we have a goat who had a heifer operation. That means this little male goat no longer urinates out his penis. He has a surgically created meatus out the back end, so he pees like a little girl. But goats stand with their legs stretched out in the back and urinate down from the front. When a goat stands that way and has that external meatus, the urine runs on his back legs and it can cause excoriation and urine burns. So he started to get pink raw skin. Using your shampoos and skincare products, we were able to get rid of that, resolve it, and have him go completely back to normal. So even though some of these products may not seem like really valuable products when you look at them, they're very valuable products to us. And we really, really appreciate you and having had that chance to use them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. It's so nice to have you and hear all these stories. I really enjoyed learning more from you. So, so if anyone has a question for Anne, please feel free to put it in the chat. And then now we are going to turn it over to Marcy, pictured there on the right. And Marcy, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcy Thrash. I'm the program director here at Project AnimalAid. As program director, I'm in charge of all the inventory in and out of the warehouse, communicating with all of our partner organizations, and also facilitating the donations of larger items that don't pass through our Colorado location, and get those into the hands of our partner organizations, usually in the US. So in the next couple of slides, I'll just talk about a couple of exciting success stories that Project AnimalAid has had this year. And Project AnimalAid has grown so much in the last year. I've been busier than ever. And in 2023, we implemented our new inventory management system called Inflow. It is incredible. It's taken some time to get in place and get used to, but we can work 10 times faster now that we're not doing all of the paperwork that we were doing before. So that's been really exciting for us, and one of the most exciting parts of 2023, I would think. We've also a new thing for Project AnimalAid this year is we've been facilitating the donations of larger pieces of equipment directly from donors into the hands of our partner organizations, instead of passing through the warehouse. Things like huge stainless steel surgery tables, anesthesia machines, and these really large pieces of equipment that you can't easily send in the mail. So that's been a new project for Project AnimalAid this year too, and it's been very successful. So an example of that, we had an animal hospital in Pennsylvania, Brandywine Valley Veterinary Hospital. They reached out to us because they updated and renovated their kennel area in the hospital that they use for inpatients. They're a pretty large hospital, so they had about 38 stainless steel kennels and a couple of really nice stainless steel surgical tables and another couple pieces of large equipment. And this stuff, it would be thousands of dollars to send in the mail and have here at our warehouse. So instead of doing that, Project AnimalAid facilitated getting all of these kennels to some of our partner organizations in their area. And if you're not familiar with the kennels that you usually see at an animal hospital, this is where you house the animals pre and post surgery. And most of our groups who don't have a ton of funding usually use airline crates or wire crates, which is problematic for a couple of reasons. Firstly, stainless steel is easier to sterilize. So when you're using the plastic crates and wire crates, they can get disease and parasites, and the stainless steel ones are really, really easy to clean and sterilize. They're also far safer for the animals, and not just the animals, but the caretakers of the animals too. So if you were to buy these cage banks brand new, I would say each set of kennels is about $1,000, $500 to $1,000. So they're very, very expensive. We were able to split this donation of the cage banks between two of our partners, Kitten Crazy, which is a cat sanctuary in Ohio, and Fix West Texas, which is located in West Texas, obviously. The next slide. So we sent Solstice Hope Street Animal Rescues in Nepal. We sent them a very large donation of specialized orthopedic products. These, if purchased new, would be over $12,000. And some of the orthopedic instruments and equipment that we sent were actually brand new. So they were used for in a couple of different ways. The picture you see to the left, that's Mac, he's a dog. And the picture you see on the right was a street cat that had been hit by a car. And since they don't kill cows in Nepal, there's a huge overpopulation problem, not just cows, but dogs and cats too. So the cows and the street dogs roam freely, and the hit by car injuries are very, very frequent. So the Soltis Hope Street Animal Rescue performs lots and lots of orthopedic surgery. So we were really happy to send them all of the orthopedic instruments that they needed. Anesthesia machines. I would say an anesthesia machine is probably the top piece of equipment on all of our partner organizations' wish lists. These machines cost thousands of dollars. Many of our groups can't afford them, especially the really small groups with the lowest budgets. On the other hand, anesthesia machines are usually the most rarely donated piece of equipment that we at Project AnimalAid normally get. And for this year, we got 6, which is just really crazy. And I hope it just continues that way. We can get all of our groups one. Our partners in Belize, where you see this little guy to the left, we were able to send them an anesthesia machine to the Belize Wildlife and Referral Center. They really needed one for their mobile trauma van. And we got to send that one overseas. It was a lot. It was kind of a lot of work. It was pretty expensive. So I'm still working on how we can get the rest of them out overseas, but we got that one out, which we're very proud of. We were also able to place one with a local group here in Colorado, Sunflower Ranch Wildlife Rehab. They use theirs mostly for the delivery of oxygen, but they do have their vet that comes in every couple of weeks, and he can do small sedated procedures for the animals there too. And the third one, we had an anesthesia machine up for grabs by a veterinarian in Pennsylvania, and we were able to place that one with our partner, Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue in the Hamptons in New York. Theirs was very old and sometimes unreliable, which you don't want for an anesthesia machine. So they were pretty excited to get a new one and get an updated machine. I do have one going out next week to one of our partners here in Southern Colorado, JJ's Helping Paws. They're an all-cat rescue out of Cannon City, Colorado. And so we have a couple left, and I can't wait to find them a home. Next slide. Earlier this year, we were able to send an EKG machine. You can kind of see it in the background of the slide to the right. An EKG machine is used to monitor heart health, and we all love kittens and puppies and young animals, but our senior animal friends don't always get a lot of attention. And at Ape Action Africa, they have 8 old-timer residents living in the sanctuary. As they age, just like us, their heart health is a priority. So this EKG machine would assist in monitoring the health of a lot of primates. And this is the queen that was there on the table. Her name is Talila. You guys saw this slide earlier. This is, Megan mentioned we launched that partnership with Blue Pearl Emergency and Specialty Hospitals in July. Pictured here are some of the items that have been donated by Blue Pearl. The ones to the left, these are really, really nice and very expensive wall-mounted exam tables. They're really awesome for small spaces, which most of our animal welfare organizations are working out of. And they're very, very safe for the animals, which is great. You don't have to lift them on and off rickety tables. So they were donated by a Blue Pearl Hospital in Texas, and they went to 2 of our partners in the Texas area. We also had a Blue Pearl Hospital in Pittsburgh that donated a couple of autoclaves. Autoclaves are used to sterilize surgical instruments and things like that. They're pretty expensive as well. And these units went to our wildlife partner, Charles and Gordon Wildlife Rehab in New York, and our partner Kitten Crazy, which is in Ohio. This massive pile of supplies and equipment that you see on the lower right-hand corner is from a Blue Pearl Hospital here in Colorado that closed its practice. They were so generous and donated basically the entire hospital to Project AnimalAid, supplies, equipment, all of it. The equipment we received from this donation alone has literally changed the lives of some of our partner groups and countless animals, saved the lives of countless animals too. Groups that never thought they would be able to afford equipment like anesthesia machines, patient monitors, ultrasound units, IV pumps, they can all practice safer medicine now because of the generosity of this Blue Pearl donation.
Well, Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Anne. I advanced the slide before Marcy was done, so I apologize. The slide advancing thing, it happens every year. I think we wouldn't know what to do if there wasn't that problem. But that it concludes the presentation portion of the evening. And so if you have any questions, feel free, like I've said throughout, to put them in the chat. I'm going to pull up the chat now, or Maya, if you are watching that, or if you have a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
And how many, this is Maya, how many animals do you do you have at the sanctuary?
We have 153 now. We will add an additional 19 in the next 10 days. We have 17 little tortoises and 2 pet rats coming from Maui. Those are because owners had their own pets and were displaced from the fires and took their pets. And one of the women who took her tortoise laid eggs and had babies. And then the other was a woman who took her pet rats, and one of her pet rats was pregnant. So we'll have another 19.
Goodness. How do you keep up?
I'm not sure I am. No, we do keep up. We just got reaccredited by Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. We passed all their inspections, and we just did our USDA inspection. So it's constant. We have a great team of volunteers. We're 100% volunteer run. So we're constantly looking for good volunteers. We do international volunteers who come and stay between 1 and 3 months. And then during all of our other times of the year, we have our pre-vets and vet students.
Wow.
So I have a question or two. This is Tommy. Forgive I haven't been feeling well, so I'm not at my most best self, but
Hi, Tommy.
Hi, Megan. So I love what you're doing. I'm just fascinated. I have a ton of questions, but I'll only ask a couple. So are you, so with your property, are you limited? You talked about there's certain species that you can have, but they can't go off site because they would be harmful to other animals, or because of like, what is that?
So the Hawaii Department of
that, like, who's
the Hawaii Department of Ag has some interesting rules and regulations. Their responsibility and mandate is to protect the environment of Hawaii and its people. They do not care about the individual animals' lives or the creatures' lives who are at the ranch. They don't. That's not their mandate. They just want to protect the environment and the people because of all the adverse instances that happened years ago. So for us to provide the kind of care, we have to do it on site. So even if we have, let's say, an ostrich who needs surgery, we can't take that ostrich to a fully equipped AHA accredited veterinary hospital 3 miles away.
Okay. Because is it any of the animals on your ranch, or just specifically
permitted animals? So all the non-human primates cannot leave.
Okay.
If it's one of the native species that needs to move to a vet, we can.
Okay.
If it's any of the A-level, anyone can own it with an approval of the state permit animals, like your parrots, all your farm animals, those could move. Your reptiles can move because they're not restricted.
Right. Do they approve the animals you take in?
Correct.
Okay. So you have are they easy to work with, or do they give you a hard time about a lot of stuff?
It's brutally difficult. And I say brutal. So we have a zebra now who's 8 years old, and her best friend was a 28-year-old pony with Cushing's. And Teak recently was euthanized. The tumor started to grow and impacted areas of motor within his brain. He became ataxic and was not treatable in a way that was comfortable for him. So he had to be euthanized a couple weeks ago. In March of this year, I had put in our initial paperwork requesting approval to import other zebra in a rescue situation. And it took all the way up until a week after Teak passed away to have our final hearing date. That's how slow it is. So for us, when we were ready to import those animals from Puerto Rico, the only way we could step up and do that was we had already gone through the entire application process. Mm-hmm. So when we think about what other animals that we could assist, we have to assess the animal residents at the ranch, our space, and our financial and our staffing ability. We come to an agreement with our board, then we approach the state and say, may we have a permit for XYZ? Then we have to go through the process. Once the permit is granted, we wait because we're a sanctuary. We don't buy, sell, or breed. We wait for an actual rescue to occur. It could, as in the case of the lemurs, occur 1 week after the permit was granted. The Puerto Rican Zoo was closed by Department of Justice. It could be, as in the last zebra that came in, it was 18 months after the permit was granted, a rescue needed to be done in Texas. Yeah. So that's how difficult. The state of Hawaii is extraordinarily difficult to work with.
Yeah. Well, at least they don't expire your approvals, I guess, right? Like
they actually do. The approvals expire 1 year after you're granted if you identify where they're coming from and have them print the permit. So what we do is we use a placeholder name and we ask them not to print the permit, not to issue it. So that's how we're able to get a longer life on those approvals.
Got it. Fascinating. That's really awesome. Wow. So you're the only employee. Do you do the fundraising too, or is that your board?
So I do that, and I am not an employee. I am a volunteer.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I work 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, except when the board insists that I be off, which they have been insisting more and more. I'm mandated to take 30 days off a year.
Oh, gotcha. So I thought you said you had one employee, which I assumed was you. So I was wrong.
I apologize. 0 employees.
Oh, 0 employees. Then I heard it. I probably heard that wrong. Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, wow. We're an all-volunteer facility. It's very unusual.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Okay, I'll take no more time. Someone else can talk to you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions?
I'm certainly glad to answer any kind of bizarre questions you can think of. And any of you are more than welcome to come and be volunteers.
Is that like I have a friend who I'm going to definitely tell her about this. It's right up her alley, I think. Is it like, do they commit for like 3 weeks, or is it, is it a program? How does it, I guess I can go to the website, but since we're talking.
I'd be thrilled. And if you know of anybody who's a website volunteer, grant writing volunteers, we're obviously needing those as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. That's some great work, right? There's so much still to be done.
Yeah.
I have a lot of vet students that come in, but do you ever have vet techs that come and need the experience?
We do. We have people who are going into vet tech, going into environmental sciences. We had one gentleman come in who went into conservation and is now doing legal cases. We've had people who become teachers, scientists. We have people who live in Europe who have been careers in something else, who the way their governments work is after 10 years in a job, you're allowed a month of paid leave as long as you do it in a volunteer role in anything different from your own career. That's so cool. We had a SWAT officer come.
Ah,
big burly SWAT officer for Hamburg. It was very funny watching him with the animals, but he did great.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's truly a lot of fun getting to meet these different people.
and how long ago did you say the zebra came to you?
It will be 26 years in January.
That is just so amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
A very life-altering experience.
Yeah.
But clearly your chosen path.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the more we can do spreading this within the community, the more we can share it, which is really something special about your donations, how much reach that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just within the gates of Three Ring Ranch. It's how much they impact either animals that are returning to the wild, animals that we're fostering and going back into another situation, animals within the community that our vet partners are able to use the tools doing. I mean, when we got a load of dressings and supplies, we got this bulk load, I was able to create care boxes that went to 3 of our local vet partners who come up and do procedures at the ranch. I was able to take those, give them to them, and they're able to do in return procedures and care for pets that come in of low income families or owners. They were more willing to be able to do this because they could financially afford it. So it had this huge reach, so we waste nothing.
That's exciting. I don't think that is something that we foresaw, when we received your application. I don't think that was something that we foresaw would be happening. Usually our the parcels that we send out are used primarily, not necessarily 100%, but primarily right there on site. So that's exciting to be able to see that reach in your community.
It is because we do use so much of it on site, but like when you've got a tool like an endoscope and that vet who uses it at our site can also use it on another animal, that's great.
Yeah.
And I hope this isn't too personal, but I just wanted to know how, I know it happened a long time ago, but your recovery from this horrible incident, how has it been?
It's been a long haul, and I'm never going to be the Anne I was. I lost such a significant part of my brain. I can't go to Costco. It's too overwhelming. When I'm in a store, I at those cooler chests and I see the creamer I want to grab, I literally have to stop and freeze to figure out how to open the door. Because if I turn and look at a handle, I've lost track of the site of where the creamer is. It's that spatial thing that is still off. I don't filter like you do. I am constantly seeing the light shift or the insect sound or the smell that you block out in order to pay attention to speech. I don't. My thought process is very much like an animal's. I don't have that filter that you've got. So it is an interesting challenge, but now that I can speak, I can point those things out to the interns and the vet students, and it helps them to understand, not to be, but to understand more of how an animal thinks. It's made me kind of a very weird liaison from the animal to the person in a little twisted way.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Yes. All right. Well, we are coming up on an hour, and we always want to be really, really mindful of your time. So, Anne, thank you so much for joining us, but bigger, thank you for all of your work that you're doing for the animals on the ranch, the animals in your community, and just thank you so much. It's really, really powerful. And everyone on this call, thank you. You have made Project AnimalAid's work possible. By extension, some of what Anne's doing, you have really made an impact on all of our lives, but the lives of thousands and thousands of animals in our communities around the world. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being here tonight, and bearing with me with my my slide changing issues. But we are grateful for you, and I hope you know you've really made a huge difference. So thank you. Have a happy, happy holiday, and please reach out if we can help in any way. All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan and team. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Sleep well.
Hi, Megan.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
Good. I am just Leslie and Betsy. Betsy, it was so nice to see your name.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Yes, thank you so much.